Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Come on in, sit on down. I'm sorry it's so laggy if this is going really horrible and weird for you guys. Something seems to have happened. I think it's the extreme heat in this office, and going live seems to have almost fried the entire laptop from what I'm feeling. I'm kind of touching it with tentative fingertips. It's really hot, and for some reason it sent my CPU haywire just playing that video, and it started using like 30% of CPU power just to play that video for you guys, and it seems to have dropped back down to normal now. Frames are being dropped. It's getting less and less as time's going on. I think it may have equalized, so I apologize if it's continuing. I have an 8-second delay, or sorry, 6-second delay on my side here, so I'm going to check the chat and let me know now if I'm okay, or if it's lagging for you guys, or if it's got any worse or better since I've started speaking. And I will check and I'll see if you guys, if it's good, if this looks good. It's a bit worrying. Let me just quickly, I also want to check a few things on my side here. I've had to close a lot of tabs to try and save as much as I could on just anything at all, bandwidth, you know, CPU usage and the rest of it. Maybe I've got the wrong encoder selected. I don't know. And technical issues for a live show, we always get these. I'm just going to go to settings here, preferences, and we're going to go to output during a stream. You can't change that in the stream, but if I go to output and streaming, it says here I'm using the right video encoder. It's the hardware. No, so I don't see any issues there. It's something. I think it's the heat. I really do. Today in the UK, it's hit something like 38 degrees Celsius, which is just stupid weather for the UK. It's not common we ever reach these types of heights. And typical England, when it's extremely cold and icy, the whole country just falls apart and no one can go anywhere, and the roads are just a nightmare, and when it gets really, really hot, our infrastructure just melts and everything breaks and nothing works either because no one has any air conditioning. So it's just one of those things where we have to put up with it as it goes. So I do apologize. So I'm got here from NK Ryan. Everything does seem okay now. That's good to know. It must have just been when playing that video. It just must have been way too much for some reason for the laptop. I've closed as many files as I can, many background things as I can, which is kind of annoying because it means for this presentation I'm going to have to re-find all of my videos that I was going to play for you, which is fine because the links are in the document I'm going to reading for you guys today. So on to the show. Yeah, it's a live Q&A because I couldn't do one on Wednesday. I released my my interview with Dark Waters instead because I didn't realize he had released his. It's kind of funny, to be honest, because maybe this is why I didn't realize. But I go over to his YouTube channel and I'll share the screen with you guys. Hopefully this doesn't lag. Hopefully this is fine. But I'll just share with you Dark Waters, his YouTube channel. It should come up here. And yeah, I was invited to come onto his channel, and it was a nice guy, really courteous. We had a good conversation. It was really fruitful. I had a lot of fun. I think he did too. I think he was happy and impressed with what I do. I don't think maybe even he fully understood how the conversation would go, but it went well. And I didn't notice until I just checked his videos that he did release my talk with him here. And I'm looking at the thumbnail, and it's one of these AI generated ones. And what have they done to my face is the first thing I could think. Look at this thing. I don't wear glasses. I have just got my eyes tested a week ago. My wife will tell you I have perfect vision, and I always have. And it's barely gone away a point, like a 0.1 or anything. It's not moved anywhere. So why I've been given glasses in this AI generated image, I have no idea. I haven't got a clue. And it's done something weird to my lip here as well. It's made my mustache shorter. That's just not me. That literally is not me. So maybe I missed it when he released this like a week ago. But because he had yeah, sorry. Someone said, "Is it muted?" No, it's not muted. It shouldn't be muted. Can you hear me, guys? Let me know. Yeah, but because I must have just skipped over and missed that this had happened. So I released my version anyway when I found it, which I'd had uploaded like a week, 2 weeks since we did our talk, and people seem to like it. A bit of mixed reviews here and there. Some people don't trust the guy. I don't know the guy. I gave him a chance. I got some random message on Instagram from someone telling me, "You're associating with the wrong people. You should not be associating with him. He's a Christian nationalist, blah, 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 blah." And I just responded like, oh, I'm sorry. Did Jesus Christ hang around with the wrong people? Like, as well, I didn't realize that I shouldn't be talking to anybody who doesn't 100% agree with my views 100% all the time. I didn't realize that's how this is supposed to go, you know. And I use that classic phrase, you know, it's the sick that need a physician at the end of the day. And so what if I am talking to somebody who might not 100% agree with everything I say? Am I just not supposed to talk to people anymore? So, I didn't realize it would be contentious, and I don't care. I had a good conversation. He was really polite, courteous, invited me on. He let me talk. We had a good back and forth. Maybe he learned something. Maybe I learned something. It's just that's just how collaborations go. And most people seem to think it was positive. So I released that on Wednesday because I just needed to get other stuff done. There's things going on in the background of my life, which I do kind of want to talk about with you guys, that are just taking my attention. Not only am I writing a book, which I try and take as much time as I possibly can to do now. So if I can take a Wednesday evening to spend a few hours writing instead of having to do a live show, then I'm going to start doing that because I can just release a pre-recorded interview. I do have another one with the guy over at Digital Social Hour. That's quite a big one as well. I did that one about 2 months ago, and he still hasn't released it on his channel. Maybe he never will. I don't know. I heard Joe Telford from JT Loves JC's in the same boat. I'm not sure his ever got released either. But I have that, and it's on my Patreon if you want to go listen to it. But I've got that on YouTube just ready to publish whenever this guy publishes it, and I've been waiting months. So I don't know if that's ever going to get released. But I thought it was a good conversation, you know. He didn't even ask me about the clowns. I'm not sure he totally even knew exactly who I was or what I talk about. He was just winging it because I was recommended to him, and he just needs guests to fill content. I think the guy pumps out like 5 podcasts a day. So he must just take anybody on board to say any old shit on his podcast, and he just pumps it out for whatever, you know. And he seems to be very successful doing it. So I've got that on the back burner, but but yeah, that's basically it. And also there's other things about me and my wife are trying to find a bigger house. So that's something that we've kind of been working on, researching, looking into, booking viewings and so forth. And um, in between that, I'm also trying to exercise more. I'm actually in gym gear now, not because I've been to the gym today, it's been way too hot, but because it's too hot, this is the thinnest thing I own that breathes. That's why I'm wearing this, but I have been exercising. I've lost 4 pounds so far in the first week because I am doing a heavy intermittent fast as well as a lot of resistance training. I'm just doing a lot of training and I'm trying to get fit and healthy. So my schedule's kind of thrown a little bit off whack. I am 5'7" and I weigh 190. Well, right now 192 pounds. That's too much. I should be like 157 or something like this. And it's not all muscle, I'll tell you that much. I need to get it down. I'm not healthy. And it's just, I think fatherhood has done this to me and the rest of it. But I'm working on it, and my aim is in 2 months to get myself maybe I can hopefully lose about 15 pounds in that time. I think it's possible. I think it's doable. I'm on the right track right now. It tends to be the heavier you are to start with, the quicker you lose that weight. It's not my first time doing the gym stuff, so I'm not like a novice exactly. And I'm hitting the macros. I'm eating nothing but protein. I'm on protein shakes and all the usual stuff you do, while also intermittent fasting to try and get that metabolism kicking into gear again. So that's also taking up my time. So on that Wednesday, I released that because I needed to exercise, and I needed to do some writing, and I also needed to do some house research and looking around and the rest of it. And we actually had a house viewing today. We went to go see a house today, and it was good. It was okay. But me and the wife were saying like it's not what we need. It's like it's decent. It's the best thing we've seen so far, but it's just not for us. Like we are a family of 4, you know what I mean? We have 2 young children who are only getting bigger, and although it is bigger than what we've got now, and the price is, I don't want to say okay, because all house prices are absolutely fucking ridiculous right now, and everyone's way overpriced and valued their houses, even the ones who just should not be what they are. So it's not okay, but it's compared to other houses of its size, I guess it's kind of all right, you know what I mean? But it's still not okay. I cannot stress enough how none of these house prices are okay. They're ludicrous and criminal and illegal, and in only 6 years alone, every house has had £100,000 slapped on top of it in just 6 years. That is not in line with inflation. This is just greed. This is outright greed and abuse of the system, and people's desperate nature, and banks buying up properties, and all the rest of the horrible, nasty stuff that keeps happening in this world. You know, it's just disgusting. But we need a young family that's growing, need a bigger house, because I'm living in a 700 square foot council house right now, which, you know, is what you guys would call rent controlled. It's decent enough and affordable enough, but it's not big. I'm in a less than 2x2 box right now for this office, and then we have 2 bedrooms, which are okay, I guess, 3x2-ish, something like that. Me and the wife and my 2 sons share a room as well. And again, they're just getting bigger, and it's looming on us that we need to find a bigger house. We need to. Like in America, you guys have garages bigger than our house. Okay, 700 square foot is not a lot of space. You can understand that. Now in the UK, that's just how it is. It's a small island. They cram everybody in together and so forth. Now the irony is I'm actually earning more money now than I ever have. We do all right, and on paper I can afford the house we need for our family. But at the same time, the deposit that we need to get this house is forever going out of our reach because of the house price is always going up to astronomical amounts. So what we could have afforded and what we should have been able to get 6 years ago is now suddenly 100 grand out of reach, which means our deposit now is an extra 10 grand out of reach. Do you get what I mean? So we have this really annoying, horrible situation we find ourselves in. And we looked at this house today, and we were like, you know, did we just get it? Just because it's a bit bigger than what we've got now, like an extra 300 square foot bigger, you know, did we just get the thing? And we were thinking about it, really putting an offer in, and then suddenly another house comes on the market, which is significantly, well, I guess month by month payments, it's not that much more expensive, but it's ended up it's like 10 grand out of reach for our deposit, more expensive, but it is the house we need. It doesn't need any work. We can just move in. It's big enough to accommodate us and to grow in and to just stay in forever. Like, I'm 34 years old. I can't do the whole buy a cheap house and grow and get bigger as you go along every 10 years thing. I have 2 kids already. That's a pipe dream that only existed for the boomer generation and doesn't exist anymore. It's like either you get the house you're going to live in forever now, or you're stuck in where you are forever now. You know what I mean? Whether that's living with your parents or in a box council house or whatever it is. So I've done everything I can. I'm trying to like I said, get the second book published and written, and I'm going to do some reading for you guys today because I actually am almost finished and I'm excited about it, and I want to share with you what I've just been writing this afternoon. I managed to smash out 2,000 words over the past 2 days into this last chapter about the history of clown in TV media and how that's developed over the latter part of the 20th century. So we're going to get into that later, but I was yeah, so anyway, the housing situation. I'm doing everything I can to get this money because that's what you've got to do. I provide for my family. I've got 2 children, and I need to do everything I can as a husband and as a father in my power to utilize every resource I possibly can to get this money. That's just how it works. Family men and women will understand how this is and what it is. We're all up against it. So, like I said, I've managed to start a separate channel, Understanding Conspiracy Clips, or You Conspiracy Clips. At You Conspiracy Clips. You can just go and find the link down below in the description. Subscribe if you haven't already. But I have hit the monetization threshold. I've finally done it. 4,000 watch hours, 1,000 subscribers. We got there in about 2 weeks, so maybe a week and a half, however long it's been, which I'm really happy about. Right now, I'm just waiting for YouTube to catch up to the fact. I've already gone through the system. It's already monetized for super chats and all these type of things, but ad revenue, it's going to take 1 more day for it to catch up with my watch hours, because what I have in my studio is like 5 days behind what's in the YouTube system. So that's about to get ad revenue monetized in the next day or 2, which means I can now passively just pump out 5 to 10 minute clips from all these live shows on that channel daily, 1 a day, and that'll just passively become an extra boost income on the ad revenue. So that's the first thing I've done. That's an extra step. I do have my other channel, Understanding Creativity, which I do intend on making more videos for. Once I have the time after this book is published, I can allocate my extra time that I used to use for that into these 3 channels and get more content out. Also, with the book finished and published by December, hopefully if I can get it published in September, that's the aim, that should come through by the end of the year, and hopefully help get some more income coming in to keep this going for as long as I can, because I don't know how long you can keep a ride like this going, you know what I mean? It's YouTube, it's fickle. I have no idea. And because of this, I literally do rely on you, the listener, to support me. And a lot of you do. A lot of you go to Patreon, but there's loads of extra content there. I've managed to grow that quite a lot over the past month or 2. I've gained maybe about 30 to 40 extra patrons, which equates to an extra $300 on top of that. So that comes out about maybe $1,000 a month if I'm lucky right now, which is great, and I'm extremely thankful for, because it was always stuck around 700 for like 2 years. So I'm doing what I can here and there, but it's like a constant battle and struggle against inflation. I don't want to raise my prices on these things because I think $7.50 is fair enough, and I shouldn't be pushing it any more than that, just to access all that kind of stuff. So I'm doing what I can. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and I am not above asking for help. I'm really not. So please, if anybody wants to help me with this situation and help my family get a house, please do. I am serious. Like I need help, and this is me as a father, as a husband, utilizing all my resources, and that is asking you, the audience, if you like what I do, you want to support me and help me and my family in any way you can, or give back, then please consider being a patron, buying a book, listening to my music on Spotify, buying the next book when that comes out, or if you can always donate to PayPal. The link is down below for that, and always has been. And that's my appeal to you guys. And again, I don't have any pride on this situation. When I need help, and I ask for it. So if you guys want to help me and help my family get in this house sooner rather than later, please consider donating, helping in any way, shape or form. So that's my plea there. I'm always going to be here. I'm going to turn up. I'm going to make the videos, do the content, talk about what's going on in the world, offer my opinion and my perspective, and do the truth of therapy sessions for you, regardless of whether you choose to support me or not. But if you do find value in what I do and you want to help me, please do help me. I will take it. I never look a gift horse in the mouth, and I am always thankful. And yeah, there it is. That's the pitch there. But other than that, that's why I've been a lot busy, and you will see over the next month or so the odd day where I don't release a video like I used to. Maybe I used to do about 4 videos a week on this channel. Maybe it's just going to be 2 live shows, or even then it'll be an old backlog interview I've done released instead of a live show, because I'm finishing off the book. And I'm going to share with you now where we're up to with the book. It's a video I want to show you as well you might not be aware of, because it just creeped me out, and I'm sure it'll creep you out as well for a bit of fun. So here we go. Just let me share the screen. Make sure I've got what I need up first. I need to zoom out off that horrible thumbnail of me and bring up the file. So there's actually I've not got the right file up. I've got a document I'm re-editing, and here's volume 1. Right, that's loading. Let's share the screen with you guys. So this is volume 1, which I'm currently, this is volume 2, which I am almost finished with. So volume 1 is done. Done and dusted. I'll move, if I click the right one, there it is. Nope, that's the wrong, there it is. I'll move this up so you can kind of see what I'm looking at here and what's going on, and maybe read along. But the chapters are on the side, and this is what the second book is looking like. I'll also just show you the word count so far. I will display that, and the word count is 83,203, but it's actually more than that, because there's another document here and a different file, just to speed up the process, because it can take a while for the editing software and the spell checker and everything to kind of catch up when the file gets that big. So I now have to do them on separate, smaller files just to so once this is written, it'll be transferred over to the main file you just saw there. But this is what I'm going to read to you today, what I've been writing. Even this one, I have so far 2,500 words, as you can see right there. That's what I'm highlighting right now. So there's an extra 2,500 words to be added on top at the top of this total you see here. I'm aiming for about 90,000. I'm going to try and keep it around there. But it might end up being about 95 at this rate, which is actually about 4,000 more than the first book. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than the first book, just not much, just a little bit bigger. So they'll look pretty equal on the shelves from the looks of it, which I'm quite happy about. But this is it. So it says here section 3, but realistically for volume 2, this is actually section 1. And if you go through this, I've gone through North America, and we've gone through as many things as I can here. Subheadings of Inuit masks, totem poles of the Pacific Northwest, the demon masks of the Atlantic Northeast. We've got the Plains, the Plateau, and the Great Basin tribes. We've got the rock art and the ant people of the Southwest of America, North America, the Hopi Kachinas, the Day of the Dead, the Feathered Serpent, and other things like Bigfoot and cryptids, and the rest of it were covered in the first book. And the things like the serpent mounds and the elongated skulls and all that type of thing, and the story of the Paiutes, and all that was covered in the first book. So I'm not repeating myself in this one, but I am bringing back some interesting points here that link the biblical narrative to the oral traditions and histories of the natives of North America, and their masks and their dances, and obviously the look of how they channel the spirits and so forth. And it's all there in the first one. Then we go to South America, and there's quite not as much here, and there's only reason there's not as much in this one as in North America is because a lot of South American traditions are actually rooted in Portuguese and Spanish traditions because of the colonization. Now I've done what I can for I mentioned it here, the European influence, to kind of explain that, and then we go on to European folk traditions. But I do mention in here some interesting points of the native tribes of this region. I have already mentioned quite a lot of them, to be honest, in the first book, like some tribes in Peru, for example. Again, I don't want to end up repeating myself. So when this is all put into one big book at the end, where all these chapters, volumes 1 and volume 2, are just in one solid read, there's no point repeating myself. Do you know what I mean? You just want it to be one flowing book where I'll make references back to where I've already talked about that earlier on in the book. And I have been doing that. It's a bit of a demanding job, but as it says here, if you read Volume 1, Chapter 18, you will be already familiar with the Selknam, as I succinctly explain the now extinct tribe. However, this should also be included in this chapter so they are referenced in their proper South American context. So I'll give a quick overview there, and then I give some extra details that weren't given in the first original thing, and the rituals they do and the costumes they wear and why they wear them. And I kind of box that off and explain, the European influence of this region does kind of take over a lot of what happened here. But we do cover the Mesoamericans, the South American regions, with the Aztec empires, the Incan religions. I do kind of go through it all here in this first part. And then we go into the Chavín de Huántar, and the temples that are there, and the artwork we find that shows the same creatures that are all over the earth, which I think are the Nephilim, and I make it my case for it in this book, which are just the same as the Rakshasas of India. It's all there, and there's a bit here on the elongated skulls, and I realised I don't need this because I did thoroughly cover that in the first book. So again, I was umming and ahhing whether I should include them here. The Paracas skulls and the rest of it, but I have already said all of that in Volume 1, so I've kind of decided not to do it. We're going to keep this second book so it's not a boring read, but an interesting one, and like as I'll explain in the chapter I'm going to read to you what my intentions for this book really are, and they'll kind of make sense why I've chosen to do it this way. Now, the European folk traditions has a large chapter with a lot, because there are a huge amount of differing traditions on such a small amount of space. But they're all fundamentally based around the wild man. And the reason that needs a lot of attention is because Harlequin, the first proto-clown, is based off this character. So I go into the cookery of Bulgaria quite thoroughly here. Quite a few pages to each one. Then we go through the Macedonian Dolozhar. We go through the Serbian Zmaj and Romanian Zmauz, the dragon cultures of this region. We go through the Bellmen of Croatia, the Current of Slovenia, the Busaharas of Hungary, or the Gentilac, as they're also known. We go through, the Gentilacs of the Basajuan of the Basque, sorry. Then we go through Krampus with the German tradition, the many festivals of Spain, which have a lot of colourful characters involved, the Portuguese Correitos, we have the Italian Carnival, the Swiss Fastnacht, the Tuatha de Danann of Celtic culture, and the Gorgons of Greek culture. And I will add probably an extra chapter in here, maybe a page or two, summarising the gods of the Norse mythologies as well, something I've kind of glossed over by accident, which I realise we'll have to go back and include. But I did cover a lot of that again in Volume 1, I do remember. So it's kind of not repeating myself, but giving them the honourable mention they deserve. I will go through the mythology of that region again. But I did cover the flood mythos in the first book, which kind of covered the gods and of that region. And there isn't actually much within Norse mythology that references clown or clown-like imagery that much, to be honest. A lot like the Greek pantheons as well. But there may be something to be said for the giants, the ice giants of that are mentioned. So I will probably bring that up again. And then African folk tradition, again, a very long one. We got Egypt, we got the Islamic Jinn, we got West African Vodun and spirit masquerades, the Mandinka Kankurang, the Dogons of Mali, the Gerawal mating tradition that they have, the attraction tradition for men, the body modifications and the red ochre and white powder that's used, the Pende Mindanji. We have the Pinko of Mozambique, and there's many of these traditions that we go through here where it shows these initiations for young men that often involve them encountering the spirits. Okay, and this is one of them. They are basically shown that you can be possessed by this spirit if you wear this certain costume as a tradition. And the young men of the tribe learn this secret, and that's what initiates them into manhood. And the costume is very clown-like. It's all there, and it's very fascinating. And I've had fun kind of uncovering a lot of these things, which are not covered on the channel yet. So I'm quite excited about this. But we got the Makishi of Zambia, the Bwiti cults of the Iboga ceremonies, the psychedelic drugs they take, similar to the ayahuasca ceremonies, but they have the Iboga plant, or ibogaine is where this drug comes from. And they basically trip and communicate with spirits. So it's all there. Then we have African rock art, which itself is quite a vast subject matter, and it got its own few pages there. Then we go to South Asian folk traditions. And this was tough because originally I was just going to do India on its own, but I had to include a lot of South Asia because of the Hindu tradition of how far it spread. So we talked about the Devas, Asuras, and Rakshasas, the churning of the ocean of milk tradition, which shows these gods working together to get immortality. A very interesting story. And again, the artistic renditions of these creatures involved these stories and how clown-like features do keep coming up over and over and over again. We've got Ravana, the demon king of this region, the Theum and the Butakola rituals. We've got Balinese demons, the Fighter Con of Thailand, and the honorable mentions. There's quite a lot of extras there. They're hard to include for their own chapter, but do need to be mentioned. So I've kind of included them here as well. Before going to North Asian folk traditions, into China, we got the Bailan of Sichuan. We got the Sanxingdu archaeological site, which has some very fascinating masks and statues. We got Chinese cosmology and the gods and demons, Japanese demons and gods, the Ainu and the Jomon cultures of these regions. I suppose you would call them the natives. We got the Korean shamanism, the Tibetan and Mongolian demons, and the Nepalese demons, and kind of contrasting how they all look the same, but they all have their own artistic stylizations, but fundamentally they are the same creatures in India through Hindu tradition, and Buddhism and Hinduism share a lot of crossover when it comes to iconography. So it's been a fascinating kind of layman's terms breakdown I've been trying to create there for you guys. Chapter 26 is the Oceanic folk tradition, so we're going to the cannibals and mudmen of Papua New Guinea, the gods they believe in, the headdresses they wear, the white paint they put on their bodies, and the polka dots. We got the rainbow serpents of Australia have been broken down here, and that goes on to the Australian Wangina, and where the relations to the rainbow serpents and the connections to the land of the Kimberley region of the Aborigines of this space. And as you can see, this one goes on for a while because they are the most clown-like looking creatures, to be honest. Then we got the Memian baby eaters. So these are other demons that kind of plague the land, linking them back to biblical understandings of where these creatures come from. The hybridization that went on, and obviously some of the stories that come out of this of giants and encounters with giants and the variation. We go through the Hakka and Maori folklores, then we go through Polynesian statues, things like tiki masks and the rest of it, and there's actually quite a lot involved with these cultures, more than just simply tiki masks. It goes pretty deep, to be honest, so I've kind of given them a good breakdown there for you guys without making it dry. I've had to cut out a lot as much as I've put in, to be honest, because you can end up saying too much which you think is important, but then when you're trying to get to the point of what the subject matter of this book is, some things just have to go. So those are relatively easy bite-sized pieces. You could probably read a subheading a day and retain the information, because it's not overloaded, but it's enough to give you a good outline of what these traditions actually believe and why they do what they do. And obviously I think it's all biblical. It all links back to the Bible and the narratives within it, and of course it's all there to justify my theory that the spirits they venerate, whatever they call them or whatever they think they are, they all share the same features, which we in the West describe as clown-like features and have turned into a costume. So this is where we get to section 2 of volume 2. And let me just check I've still got you guys. I haven't lost you. Are you still with me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're still with me, if I haven't lost you yet. I'm going to get to what we're going to read soon, but I just want to give you a breakdown of what the second book is going to be, so you understand what I've been doing. I've not been wasting my time here. I am really doing this as best I can, and I'm doing this and giving this justice. I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing anything, Okay, I assume you guys are still with me. I'm gonna guess so. I'm gonna come back and I'll break down the rest of it. So this is what I suppose is more the fun stuff about all my work and my theory. This whole section of the book is really what people want to see when they come to a YouTube channel. This is all about the modern stuff you can all relate to and understand and have experienced yourself through media. Okay, that's primarily what this is about. So if you go through this, it starts with clown murderers and perverts. All right, and there's a lot, surprisingly, but I've chosen a handful of the most notable cases. John Wayne Gacy, the Florida doorstep killer clown, Zoe Adams of the UK, the cartel clowns problem that we had in New Mexico. It was insane, absolutely insane. And the James Holmes killing as well. The Aurora theatre shooting, the Batman movie. Obviously, there's a lot involved there. And there are more, but I figured I want you to go out there and you'll notice them for yourselves as time goes on. You know, and you can start seeing the problem here. So we go into the fear of clowns, coulrophobia, and I break down the science behind the fear of clowns and why people have this fear. With a justification, then obviously weave into my narrative of, well, you know, if you consider the stuff I've just shown you, maybe there's something deeper here. Maybe there's a reason why we're scared of clowns that could be scientifically explained through a collective DNA memory of being prey to a certain predator, and these features instinctually distill fear within us because we're supposed to be scared and we're supposed to run to protect ourselves for these reasons. And basically what this research and what I found is reading all the prominent texts that we have on it, what the science says, what the DSM-5 says, and what the studies have done, and what the interviews they've done. The science basically says we don't know why people are scared of clowns. We just know a disproportionate number of people are. And it's not because of television. Okay, that's what they've basically discovered. Like, even though we could put it to, oh, there's been a lot of scary clown media and it's just made people scared of clowns when they weren't already. That's not what the science is showing. The science is showing people have actually always been scared of clowns, even when they were popular. And it's just people are saying it now because they feel more confident in talking about it. And the reasons that people give for being scared of clowns has nothing to do with watching a scary movie when they were a kid or anything like that. It's actually usually the people explain it's something else, like it's the way they look, or it's the shape of this, or it's the color of that, or it's the way they move. Like it's more about the actual creature itself than some bad experience they had when they were a kid, which is like the throwaway line. So it's really interesting, and I've laid that out clear. You can read this chapter fully on Patreon. I did release this one. And then we've got the 2016 clown sightings. Again, this is a chapter you can go and read on Patreon if you want to read the whole thing. And we break down not only the 2016 clown sightings, but the 1984 Boston clown kidnappings and van sightings that happened as well. The Phantom Clowns, as they were known, in 81, Boston, Massachusetts. Honestly, that was a crazy time. And it turns out this crazy clown sightings of 2016 thing is not new. It's happened before. And we can go through breaking down what happened in that event and the outcome, how McDonald's was completely and totally wiped out as a result of the 2016 clown sightings, not McDonald's, Ronald McDonald was removed because of this. And it's an interesting tale. Chapter 30 is what I call the multicolored collective, and this is explaining about the people who, I think, when they go down more demonic belief systems, they generally manifest demonic features that come as colourful, dyed, pierced, tattooed, mutilating the human image to be something more clown-like. And I think it's not a coincidence. That's because the spirit that runs through them looks like this. And I think it's more of a, do people dress like clowns to be possessed by demons, or does being possessed by a demon make you end up looking like a clown? You know, it's kind of tackling that question, really. It's a fun little bit opinion piece kind of thrown in, like an essay thrown in there. And then this is where we're up to now. Art and music. Chapter 31. This is what I'm currently writing. And this is over on this other file. So this is what I've started. This is where I'm up to. The last chapter. Art and music. And how the clown has been weaved throughout modern media of the latter 20th century. And how it's influenced us. And how it's influenced the image of a clown slowly over time. And I haven't written about it yet, but the back half of this whole chapter will be getting into the philosophy and the idea of why the clown is around so much now in media, why it was injected to begin with, the not so subtle Freemasonic connections to all of this, and the change of clown good to being bad trope in media may actually have been controlled as a controlled release of the truth, rather than something that just had to happen because everyone was bored of a happy clown, you know. So we're going to get into that now, and this is what I'm going to read for you guys, okay? So there's a catch up, there's a breakdown of what the second book's going to entail, and I can give you a rough timeline. If I can get this book written and proofread by the end of July, then hopefully in August I can get the audiobook done as well as the final proofread, and then at the end of August, start of September, this book can be published. I think that's a reasonable timeline. I think that's doable without overstretching myself too much. I'm doing all this work myself. I'm doing all the proofreading. I'm doing all the audiobook reading, all the editing. There is no one else involved with this but me. It's that simple, all right? This is all on me. This is a completely self-published endeavor from start to finish. And obviously, all the work referenced as well. To give credit where credit's due, they obviously are in the bibliography. They're all there in this book and in the footnote sections. But that's my timeline. So I'm going to read for you guys the last chapter, what I've written so far. And I'll have to tell you, this is not final product. There is going to be a full proofread for the entire book, including this chapter you're about to hear. And then there's going to be a third read through during the audiobook reading, which will be tweaking and editing a lot of the punctuation, a lot of the minor errors you pick up when reading out loud in flow, and sentence structure and things like this to make it easier and sound better to the ear when read properly. So this is not the final product. This is first rough draft stuff. So please understand that. I don't want you to get a bad idea about how the final product is going to be. But this is something I did a lot with the first book, these reads every now and again, and I'm doing another one for you guys now. Then once we've done this read through, I'll have a quick break, and then we'll have some Q&A. Okay, we'll open up just to a usual normal show Q&A. So let me just get a quick drink of water here. And as I go through this, I might pause every now and then to click the link that I've included in the footnotes to show you the video of what we're talking about before I carry on. So that will happen throughout this, okay? Just keep you a bit more interested in what's going on as I talk about it, all right? So this one's called Send in the TV Clowns. This section of the book could have been written in so many ways. I sat pondering for weeks over how to express the multitude of examples of the demonic clown in modern media without having to create a volume 3 to cover it all. For this reason, I considered the purpose of this book, and subsequently, all of its chapters. When I discussed the cultures around the world that dress in clown-like costumes, white paint, colourful garb, red headdresses, wide grinning masks, to perform rituals involving ancestor spirits, I certainly didn't mention every single one. Doing so would have made this an incredibly tedious read, which is something I'm still worried my critics will say even after the exhaustive editing process. This book is meant to serve as a runway or a springboard for readers to launch their own research, or as a foundation of basic theoretical principles they can apply to the world around them to find more examples of the clown as Nephilim for themselves. In other words, if the original YouTube videos serve as a proof of concept, then the book is a distilled showcase of the facts of the matter, which one can apply to their own worldview going forward. Therefore, I will not include every example of modern artworks that have used costumes or clown symbolism as a reference to something demonic, as there is simply too many for one chapter and it is not necessary. I will keep this chapter dedicated to the most prominent examples which are well known to a large portion of the Western population. I, of course, won't speak of or write about many artists, musicians, directors, or designers who may also have used the clown outside of a Western context, as I simply don't know anything about them, and, in large part, I've already explored foreign demonology in Volume 2, Section 1. However, it must also be said that the clown, as we know it today, is a distinctly Western creation, and the way it has been used in the West, compared to how the costume is perceived by other cultures, is the primary subject matter of this entire body of work. With that being laid out, it would be wise to explain just when exactly the clown came to take on this new form of evil or scary, as opposed to its original intended purpose to be a foolishly silly children's entertainer. It must be said that I, and you, the reader, know by now that the clown was never truly intended for this purpose of a buffoon or light-hearted comedian in a circus setting. From its very inception, it was a representation of the demonic, whether that is through Sorry, guys. Whether that is through Arlecchino/Harlequin as a representation of the wild man in the 16th century Commedia dell'arte, or through Harlequin's future replacement as the demonic element with the British clown in 1799, who was suddenly dressed in a manner identical to Indian Rakshasas by the son of a prominent Freemason. All this makes a question like, when did the clown become demonic, moot, as the real answer is, it always was. However, to the average person who doesn't have the time to examine such obscure novel historical factoids, the clown was originally, for all intents and purposes, something good, which slowly changed into something not so good over time. With the removal of the clown from his original circus setting and technological changes in broadcasting, public perception of the clown began to change only in the mid to late 20th century, with the advent of television. However, initially, the transfer from the big top to the living room screen was very successful with audiences, and very few negative connotations were associated with the clown at the beginning of this new era of entertainment. For example, we can still find an advert from 1956 featuring a clown mascot called Crinkles eating his post-sugar rice Crinkles cereal with great enthusiasm, and possibly the most terrifying clown makeup one could imagine. Today, this video serves as a popular example of unintended vintage creepiness, fueled by his jarring movements, word pacing, and the catchphrase, "It's so good, I crinkle every time I eat it," which only adds to the uncanny nature of this scene. It surely must have disturbed many children during Saturday morning TV time.
Breakfast! I'm hungry! Take it from Crinkles. That's me. The best breakfast under the big top is post-sugar rice Crinkles. So crinkly, so delicious, so different. Each grain of rice in sugar rice Crinkles is crinkled with honey and sugar. It's so good, I crinkle every time I eat it. Yet, no matter what other rice cereal you've ever tried, you'll love post-sugar rice Crinkles best of all. Honey and sugar make it different and wonderful. A circus of fun to eat. So you crinkle on down to the store for post-sugar rice Crinkles, the greatest cereal treat on earth.
Perhaps I, too, am guilty here of overlaying a modern lens onto something that was genuinely still seen as innocent and wholesome to a young boomer generation. During this early television era, from 1947 to around 1970, clowns were a common trope for children's entertainment. Clarabelle the Clown was part of the main cast of the Howdy Doody show, played by 3 actors over this time. He was a clown who wore a baggy striped costume, communicated through mime and by honking a horn for yes or no. He would often spray his fellow cast member Buffalo Bob Smith with seltzer. In his final episode, it was revealed that Clarabelle could speak, with his final words being, "Goodbye, kids," in a strange, high-pitched tone said to reflect real emotions about the show ending, but it just comes across as creepy to modern sensibilities. Zavella, born Sam Wishner, was a pioneering American magician and early television personality. He is best remembered as the very first actor to play Bonomo, the magic clown, in a popular weekly children's television program from NBC TV from 1949 to 1951. The show was famously sponsored by the Bonomo Candy Company, the makers of Turkish taffy. In the background of the studio performances, the child audience is known as The Magic Gallery is on full display as Bonomo performs tricks in a typical French Poirot the Clown costume and a menacing-looking Joker's smile. The eerie occult factor is soon amplified when you realise all the children are wearing the traditional red fez, a Muslim symbol of Christian genocide, and a main component of a Shriner's uniform, discussed in Volume 1, Chapter 15. Yet the public understanding is that it is a reference to the Turkish taffy, which was repeatedly advertised throughout the show, as the fez was synonymous with the Ottoman Empire. So here's an example of this, and here's the salesman and the clown next to each other, and he would just do these odd magic tricks with this odd look on his face. Here he is playing with the clown and milking it, giving, I don't know what he does with the milk, there you go, but he just looks very disturbing. It's a very creepy clown, you know, it's very odd. And then here's the kids in the background wearing the fez as well, and then occasionally we'll go to a advertisement break where he would sell his taffy.
It's so delicious, and gee, it just gives you a lot of pep too. You know.
See what I mean? It's just very. It was a very different time. That's what I'm learning when you watch these things. These people were living a very different life to us. But the clown was always there. It was like a staple of 50s TV for some reason. So played by KSD weatherman Cliff St. James, Corky started in 1954 as Zippy the Clown. 2 years later, after a change in the show's sponsor, Corky was introduced. Each episode featured about 40 children in the audience, with some getting the chance to interact with Corky. The show included games, prizes, special guests, and surprises for the children. James's costume was very similar to that of his famous contemporaries of the 1950s. Richard Bernard Red Skelton was an American entertainer best known as a national radio and television comedian from 1937 to 1971. Skelton, who has stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, began his show business career in his teens as a circus clown and continued in vaudeville, on Broadway, in films, on radio, on TV, in nightclubs, and in casinos, all while pursuing an entirely separate career as an artist. Red Skelton's most famous TV character was a tramp clown called Freddie the Freeloader, first appearing on TV in 1952. It is highly worthy of note that Skelton was also a Freemason, Vincennes Lodge Number 1 in Indiana. I may have butchered that word. Vincennes, I don't know how to pronounce that one. I'll have to look into it. A member of both the Scottish and York Rite. He was a recipient of the Gold Medal of the General Grand Chapter, Royal Arch Masons, for distinguished service in arts and sciences. On September 24th, 1969, he received the honorary 33rd degree in the Scottish Rite and was given a Georgius Medal. A Georgius Medal recipient in 1995. Skelton was also a Shriner in Los Angeles, California. The makeup style of Skelton's Freddie the Tramp was very similar to another famous tramp clown. Emmett Kelly was at the height of his fame in the 50s as Weary Willie, the mournful tattered tramp. Kelly toured with the Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey Circus, all Freemasons, and made highly successful transitions into film and television, becoming a widely recognized American icon. Emmett Kelly was also a member of the Sarasota Lodge Number 147, Scottish Rite Valley of Tampa, and Egypt Shrine Temple, Tampa, Florida. Weary Willie has been seen in a slew of advertisements for numerous products of the time too, sharing airtime with the relatively unknown Clown Who Never Smiles, who is brought to joy after drinking an effervescent, fizzing fruit drink made from a Fizzy's tablet, though I couldn't say if this one was a Freemason. The clown as corporate mascot motif was a staple of the mid-20th century, and it clearly worked, prompting so many to jump on the trend. Perhaps the most well-known example would be Bozo the Clown, also known as the most famous clown in the world, who served as the mascot for Capitol Records. The character first appeared on US television in 1949, and after Larry Harmon purchased the creative rights to Bozo in 1957, the character became a franchise across the United States, with local television stations producing their own Bozo shows. Harmon bought out his business partners in 1965 and produced Bozo's Big Top syndication to local television markets that did not produce their own Bozo shows in 1966. While Chicago's Bozo's Circus, which premiered in 1960, went national via cable and satellite in 1978. Bozo's long protruding orange hair, manic laughter, and garish face paint became one of the most recognizable clown styles, still emulated today. And this was syndicated, and numerous actors donned. As this was syndicated and numerous actors donned the Bozo costume, you found a lot of crossover for the actors who played the famous clown and with other companies. After Willard Scott's 3-year run as WRC-TV Washington DC's Bozo, the show sponsors McDonald's drive-in restaurant, franchises John Gibson and Oscar Goldstein, so GG Distributing Corporation, so the franchises within Washington for McDonald's hired Scott to portray Ronald McDonald, the hamburger happy clown, for the local commercials on the character's first 3 television spots. McDonald's replaced Scott with other actors in its national commercials. Sorry, guys. And the character's costume was changed to what we know today. If we consider Ronald McDonald today, he is practically non-existent in the company's image, and is almost treated as part of the company's history they would rather soon forget. The 2016 clown sightings put a final nail in the coffin of the hamburger happy clown, as public opinion was clear. Clowns are creepy. That's quite a fall from grace when you consider that a mere 50 years ago, clowns as lovable mascots were not only the norm, but necessary to keep up with competition. So what exactly happened in this short time to create this odd stigma? I think the real question is, why didn't the children of the 50s, 60s, and 70s see something creepy in the image of the clown, but those who soon followed did? I can't definitively answer this. If I was to give my baseless opinion on the matter, I would drum it up to the adults in those earlier decades being completely traumatized from 2 world wars, and the children, being raised by the traumatized elders, ended up equally messed up to the point where a man dressed like a monstrous demon, reflecting their own inner psyches through absurdity, was welcome catharsis. But that really is just a wild guess. Something of greater substance I can do is detail the movies and media that contributed significantly to the clown's transformation, which all started in the 80s. Let's have a quick drink here. Alice Cooper significantly... Hang on. Let me back up here. I went way off. Let me try that again. In 1980, Alice Cooper and his face paint-clad band, Kiss, who will be covered in the music industry section of this chapter later, served as the main inspirations for the musical slasher film Terror on Tour. The story revolves around a mass rock band called The Clowns, whose brutal stage performances provoke a maniac to imitate their look and stalk their groupies backstage. While not a killer clown in the classic sense, the murderer in the film wears clown makeup, making it one of the earliest movies in which a painted smile and a big sharp knife are closely linked. Modern reviews call it complete garbage by today's standards, but it was one of the earliest examples of pop culture references mixed with killer clowns. In 1982, Poltergeist was released in cinemas, with a scene which shows a young boy's bedroom clown Teddy coming to life, strangling him and dragging him under his bed. Never mind the Nephilim connotations of a spirit of something dead inhabiting a clown's body to interact with the physical world. This scene left a lasting impact on the psyche of the 80s generation, and Gen X were soon questioning how anyone thought clowns were something you wanted as decorations on your shelves. It even won many internet ranking awards as the scariest horror scene in history. Now there is an infamous story on IMDb about how, when Robin gets attacked by the toy clown, he gets choked for real. And yet Hooper and Spielberg thought he was really acting. And it was later said that when Robin's face began turning purple, the filmmakers rushed over to remove the clown's hand from around his neck. To this, Robin's response was, "Maybe that did happen, but I can't remember. Maybe I blocked it out from my conscious mind." In 1985, David Letterman's TV show introduced Flunky the Clown, an ironic joke of a character in bad makeup, with a cigarette dangling, who reads Letterman's mail and gives deadpan responses while complaining about how terrible his life is. Not exactly scary, however, this decade is when the subversion of the happy clown expectation begins to take hold of the culture. The next year, in 1986, Stephen King's novel It was released, following the story of 7 young children who encounter an ancient, shape-shifting, interdimensional predator in the small town of Derry, Maine. This carnivorous monster takes the form of and feeds off of one's fears, but predominantly displays itself as Pennywise the Dancing Clown to attract its main prey, children. Set in the 50s, this makes perfect sense. As we discussed earlier, the public consensus was still that clowns are good and wholesome in this era. So there we go, that's where I'm up to so far, and I do have a list here of other things to talk about. We've got the black comedy Funland that came out in 87, we have Blood Harvest, which had Tiny Tim in it as a clown in 87. In 88, Killer Clowns from Outer Space suddenly came out. In 89, Uncle Buck makes the same joke. In 1989, Out of the Dark came out, which is about a clown murderer killing sex call workers. It's really odd. And then Krusty the Clown appears in 89 as well in The Simpsons. And then there's a lot more to go through. The 90s period, I'm going to have to look into that and cover that as well, but I do know a lot of things did come out during that time too. And then I have already written here quite a lot from 2014 to 2023 from a previous video with loads of examples of more modern examples and how it's shifted to what it is today. And then obviously I'll cover the more latest stuff that's come out in the past 3 years since writing this original script for a video here, which I'm going to incorporate into the book. So there we go, guys. That's some of the final section. Once I've gone through all TV and movie up into the modern day, I'm going to start again and go through the music industry and how the style and the look was predominant during this time. But I'm also going to include fashion in that chapter. So then there'll just be these 2 chapters to kind of break that down. And then I'm going to also then go into a final chapter, specifically probably on the secrets of the industry and how this costume has been utilized and used to channel demons for talent and fame, to make contracts, and how it has been ripped off and used. Get all the maybe the music industry one will kind of explain that a lot more clearly. But there's a lot of movies to reference. There's a lot of artists to kind of incorporate into this. But I think maybe I can get it done in another 5,000 words or so, and then that'll be boxed off. And then I'm just going to write a conclusion. But again, this is really me just laying out all the examples of clown in the 20th and early 21st century, and how it became demonic, and how they just started outright explaining to you exactly what's going on, and what these things are, what they actually genuinely represent, and how it links to my theory that Nephilim really did look like clowns, and they're kind of externalizing this fact now, whether consciously or subconsciously. So there we go, guys. There's the reading. There it is so far. Sorry, Gene Simmons, not Alice Cooper. Sorry, you're right. That's my fault. Alice, though I do think it's likely Alice Cooper and his face paint did maybe inspire that movie. that is possible, because I was referencing an article talking about that movie there. But yes, it's clearly they were also referencing Kiss at the same time. Like, I think Alice Cooper and Kiss, weren't they the same era? And when that movie came out, I'll get it up here. I'll get it up. Is it Terror on Tour? Okay, so this is what the band looks like, the Clowns. Let me just get this up for you. Honestly, this movie does look like garbage. Yeah, so okay, there it is. So this is what the fake Kiss slash Alice Cooper ripoff band looks like in this movie, and their groupies get murdered by a man dressed like a clown. Basically, that's the movie in a nutshell. But this is like the first kind of clown horror movie, and if you go into the images, you get a bit more of a view of what you could expect from this. But I think they borrowed a lot of inspiration from Kiss and from Alice Cooper as well. But I must have just got my words mixed up. That's why it's not a final version, MK Ryan. This is a rough draft, and yeah, I probably would have got to that point. But look at this thing, very strange, very odd. I don't think it's a movie I'm gonna watch. Like, I really don't. But there's a lot there. I mean, there's another tour. What's the other one? The garbage movie I just mentioned there. That it's the one about the sex call workers. Where's that one? Not Funland. Blood Harvest. Flunky the Clown is a funny one if you want to go have a look at that. I don't think I have to show you guys it. I'm pretty much you've already seen this. Out of the Dark. Look at the state of this one. Right. So the clown mask is pretty ridiculous. The premise is absolutely ridiculous as well. 1989. Everything in the 80s was like incredibly hypersexualized when it came to murder. Like, murder and sex were always put together for some reason. Like, what was with those guys? Like, what was with the people in the 80s? What were they thinking? Why were they like this? Okay, I need to understand. I suppose I don't know. It was just so camp, wasn't it? It was so ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know. Lazy B movie. But apparently this one was fun for the time because it included a lot of actors and actresses that were famous in the underground counterculture movie scene. And this whole thing was supposed to be like a commentary or a parody subverting the modern culture, you know what I mean, including a lot of popular known actors that were known for doing that. So apparently it was a big deal. I don't know. I've never heard of it till this research, though. It sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. What's another one? Blood Harvest with Tiny Tim. I mean, this one looks terrifying as well. If I just look at the state of this one. I didn't even know Tiny Tim did this. I know he did that Tiptoe Through the Tulips song. But here he is as a clown in a movie. Absolutely terrifying. And this is coming full circle back to what clowns originally were, the demonic elements. For a short period there in the late 19th century, early 20th century, clowns became something wholesome. But even before that, they weren't wholesome. They were supposed to be demonic, you know? And now we're coming back to what they originally were, yet every article I read is like confused of the matter. They think, oh no, clowns have always been fun and harmless and innocent. And it's only recently have they suddenly become evil. It's like, well, actually, no, it was, they started off evil, for some reason became innocent, and now they're evil again. That's the true timeline of the clown. And yeah, the 80s is when it all kicked off. I mean, let's not forget the Killer Clowns from Outer Space premise. I mean, there's even a scene where they turn into a dinosaur at one point, and its shadow and eats somebody. So if that isn't a reference to them being in some way linked to giant reptiles, I don't know what is. But look at these monsters. Dinosaur scene. Let's have a look. There it is. Look at that. Absolutely ridiculous. Like eating them through shadow puppetry or something. It's like the spirit that's truly within these things is reptilian, I think is the point, you know? So there's a lot of references here, a lot of things that kind of point to my work in a big way that was really being revealed during this time. Like, the demonic clown element was just so prevalent. It was ridiculous. And they're even making a game of this, Killer Clowns from Outer Space game. They're reviving it today. It's already come out. But yeah, and it's for age 16 and above, apparently. That's terrifying. But they made a game. They made a game recently. They revived the whole thing. For a new generation, of course, you know. Why wouldn't you do that? Of course you would do that. The whole premise is ridiculous. But cannibalistic reptilian clown monsters coming from the sky and eating people. That is the story of the Seraphim angels and their offspring Nephilim. You know what I mean? It's kind of just a modernized, caricatured, cartoonized, ridiculous version of nothing new under the sun. And I can't believe I'm writing a book about this. I really struggle to comprehend that myself sometimes. I'm not going to lie. Jack Nicholson warned Heath Ledger for being the Joker in Batman. You're channeling something evil. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get into all of that. That's going to be in that chapter I've just read. That's literally maybe the first quarter of this entire chapter. I need to get into modern movies again, stuff like that. The warnings, Heath Ledger's journal that got released. I'm going to go through that as well. And I'm going to show ties that as we get further into the modern age, coming out the 20th century, the clown not only did we go from wholesome advertiser to cliched slasher horror murderer, which is still going today, by the way. You know, you've got Art the Clown in the Terrifying movie. That's the one that's very popular today, but there's been others, you know. But now it's molding into relatable revolutionary through like the Joker and the modern rendition of the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, where people are now relating to the clown as something that they understand or understands them and that they want to be closer to. Okay, the chaotic clown murderer persona is becoming a cool thing to associate with and understandable in today's crazy world, you know. It's shifted from wholesome advertiser to fearsome monster to relatable hero in the modern age. Like it's morphing even more, and I think that's the point. That was the point. They want to destabilize Western traditional cultures, and the clown epitomizes chaos and a inversion of social norms. And if they can get more people possessed with that idea, or literally possessed by demons by wearing clown costumes and channeling them, then it only contributes further towards the goal of collapsing the Western civilization. You know what I mean? Which is, it really is the end goal, isn't it, when you get down to it? Bro, 80s was Curtis Blow. We are the Jets, Paul. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of you, those words mean nothing to me, a Northwestern British boy. I'm sorry, I have no idea what you just said. I was born in 92. Please speak my language, please. I don't know what you just said to me. Alice Cooper and Johnny Depp are core members of the rock supergroup Hollywood Vampires, which also includes Joe Perry from Aerosmith. Oh, what do you know? I wouldn't know any of that stuff, but there we go. As a child, I felt some kind of despise for them, not fear, just despise. Clown, Nephilim looking. Yeah, so clowns look like Nephilim is the true phrase. But I think the Nephilim look like clowns, rolls off the tongue better, personally. Oh, I forgot about that movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yeah, from Mars. Donald Duck is a 33 dress warlock, so is Vance McHam. Okay. Hey, what's up, people? That was creepy. Your audio reading of your first book was so enjoyable, I listened on Audible, says Jackie Hill. Well, that's wonderful, Jackie. Thank you. Again, I'll be doing the same thing for the second book as well. There'll be an audiobook available. And what did I miss here with some of these comments going further back? We're arguing about God's word for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why. It's like everyone's having a theological debate. Closing and opening reworks. G is in Guardian. It's muted. It wasn't just lagging for me. Yeah, we had some lag at the start there. We actually did. Now that's interesting. I'm going to buy both books probably. If you can't wait to buy the book, you can always listen to the video series on YouTube. Go to my playlists, go to The Nephilim Look Like Clowns. There's 10 years worth of work there from start to finish. You can go through the whole thing and it lays out the whole theory for you. It shows you all the examples with pictures and images. The book is really a compilation of all of that work and then like double extra information that isn't in any of the videos as well. A lot more has been added in the book that's not in the videos, but the videos are good proof of concept, so I'd go check them out if I was you. What about blue beans? Were we talking about the Project Bluebeam? The false alien invasion in the sky? Using holographic technology and chemtrails and the rest of it with frequency technology and drone technology to make us believe that we're under attack, or the voice of God or everyone's gods are suddenly appearing in the sky and talking to them directly into their heads. Are you talking about that blue beam? Yeah, I think that is definitely something they were working on for a long time. I don't know if they're going to drop that these days. I don't know what their future plans are for that, to be honest. I don't know if it may have fallen through, if they've missed their opportunity and chance to actually make people buy such a thing. I don't know, really. But it's always something to be aware of, so you're not deceived if they do try and play that card. I think they would have some balls to play that card these days with how much information's out there about what they're really doing about it. But we'll see. I don't think these people really care what people think, to be honest. As a child, I felt some kind of despise for them. I thought Alice Cooper is now Christian, respectfully. Maybe he is. Good for him. Good for Alice Cooper. After watching it, my boyfriend will follow me to the bathroom and say, "We all float down here just under the door." It. Yeah, I remember I actually read it when I was quite young. I think I was like 13 or something when I was reading that book. It was a big, thick wedge. A massively thick wedge, and I'm not finished writing about it in that what I just read to you there. There's a lot to be said about Stephen King and the character of Pennywise. I'll have to revisit it later on in the chapter when I talk about the reboot of it, and I'll go through what we learn about the character through the series as well, and the extra lore that's kind of been added. The interdimensional nature, the deadlights, and how it basically is just telling you that clowns are a representation of something extremely demonic. You know, they really are. And there's another reference to that comes from Supernatural, the TV series as well. The Rakshasas look like clowns. And that was in 2002 when they made that episode. So this was way before my work even began. And they were telling you, and I think although they'll never openly admit this anywhere in a memoir, I think I've made enough connections to assume, or at least heavily imply, justifiably so, that they know exactly what the clown represents and they're using it to their advantage and to manipulate the public. And that's my case that I'm making, you know. And that's, believe me or not, but read the book, watch the videos, listen to me, talk about it, and make a choice for yourself, you know. But I don't think you'll ever look at clowns the same way again after paying attention to what I've done, to be honest. And yeah, it's not over yet. It's not over. Right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. Just a quick 2-minute break, get some water, cool down for a minute, get some questions in, and you probably got me for maybe 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes, and then I'll end the show. So just bear with me. I'll play a song for you. Let's do one of my own. What have I got? Let's go to my album Stupid Prizes, and let me just quickly put this headphone on so it doesn't blast through the speakers into the microphone and create a horrible feedback effect for you guys. I'll just connect that. There we go, I'm connected. It says, okay, I'm connected there. So this is from my work. I'm going to play, let's play New Age Hippie. Let's have some fun. So I'm going to play New Age Hippie for you guys. I actually have a music video for this one. I just remembered. See if I can find it. Where is it? Where is it? Bear with me. I'll just quickly pause that. It's not there. Slideshows. I think it's here. Right, okay, this is my song, New Age Hippie, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes, guys. No, I won't.
Tell me, what do you seek? I see you're after mystery. I bet you're a new age hippie. I could be wrong, it all depends. Do you drop acid with your friends in the hopes of seeing something pretty? How do you like it underground, where the bass is bouncing all around and you're dancing to something trippy? Well, walking home is no fun when eyes are wide and jaws are numb and you got no shades in Sunrise City. Someday you will say that there's only really one way, and you'll know by the names that change while the game remains the same. For shame, I bet you're trying to ascend and consciousness is your best friend. Come on, man, you're a new age hippie. I bet you think you're a god, and in the end you'll rise above the thrones of the all high and mighty. Duality's your deity, your mantra is it came from me. You yell it loud, proud and haughty. Well, don't you know it's all a lie, and when you do, you can't deny. My, what a pity. Ah, well, someday you will say that there's only really one way. You know when the names change, but the game remains the same. Or someday you will say that there's only really one way. He will be seen clearly in all that has been made, and you'll see. Amen.
And I am back. I hope you enjoyed that one. That's an old one. I recorded that in 2014, I think. New Age Hippie, one of the old songs I wrote a long time ago. And that's available to listen to on Spotify. Just search for Paul Stobbs and the album Stupid Prizes. And you can go and listen to this if you're wondering what that looks like. It looks just like this. There we go. Let's go and search, have a look. Go and check it out, and there's a few songs on there for you to listen to. Not just that as well, if you go to my main area, there's also a single EP here called The Plan you can listen to as well, another song that was released very recently, and I'll have some more singles released on there in the near future. Once I get more time, I do have some more songs up my sleeve, I think. I'm working on a few things. So please keep your eye on that. It's a good way to support me, and it's a good way just for, if you want to have a listen, it's nice to know people out there like what I do. So go and check that out. But yeah, guys, you've got me maybe for 10 minutes or so. We'll keep this around about hour and a half-ish, because I do want to maybe go for a late evening walk, get some exercise in before bed, and get those steps up. I don't know, what am I on? I'm on something like 6,000 steps for the day. That's not enough. I need to get another 4,000 in just to hit a target, and to feel better about myself and my poor decisions throughout life. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. But you've got me for, again, just normal Q&A. Ask anything you want about whatever subject you want to ask about, and I'll try my best to answer. Hopefully this show does answer the question of, let me find them here. Someone sent me a message today, which I enjoyed, and I'll read it to you guys. But hopefully this one answered your question. Paul, just finished your book. This is from Amarino999. Paul, I just finished your book. Loved it. Been following you for a few years now and finally got around to reading it. When is volume 2 coming out? Also, my husband had a question. If Nephilim hybridize themselves with animals, Are there any archaeological evidence of this? Or would it have been destroyed in the flood? Or was it potentially destroyed during Christ's return around the 1st century? Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. Thanks for reading it. And volume 2, like I said, hopefully will be released in September this year. That's my target right now. I think it's a reasonable one given the amount of work I know I have to do. I couldn't give you a date, but September's my main target. So that should be it. We're on track for that. As for your question, if Nephilim hybridized themselves with animals. So first of all, I don't think there's evidence biblically that that's exactly how it went down. I don't think Nephilim themselves hybridized themselves with animals. I think a lot of genetic engineering went on after the Nephilim that caused animal chimera hybrids to suddenly come around. I think the first genetic experiment was creating Nephilim, which is angel mixing themselves with human DNA and creating this abomination, giant offspring that look like psychedelic, reptilian, animalistic clown human monsters. And they became a nightmare to contend with and were eating everything and everybody. And they were sinning against everything by eating it, basically, and tearing up the land. And then I think once they were all dead, because of the punishment, the Watchers had to watch their children kill each other, which would have been the Nephilim. And once the Watchers were bound in chains, I think there were some left that were in rebellion against God, along with Satan's rebellion, who looked at the situation and said, okay, well, I don't think we can mate with human women again, because we've seen what happened to the guys who did that. And I don't want to suffer that consequence, all right? That punishment is too much to bear. So instead of having sex with human women to corrupt God's creation, why don't we teach humans how to do it themselves, how to corrupt God's creation themselves? And I think that's where the method of genetic splicing and engineering was given to mankind, and that's where we get chimeras and cryptids being created, like lizard people, centaurs, mermaids, bird people, all this type of thing. You know, there's variations. Ant people, bug people. Just pick an animal phenotype, like pick a type of animal, like a species, reptile, avian, mammal, whatever it is, and mix it with a human or fish. You know what I mean? And then you get these crazy hybrid cryptid monsters we have today. And these were humans doing it to themselves. Perhaps maybe being given technology or methods taught by angels, but I don't think these angels did anything. I think they gave mankind the method, but it was man who chose to implement it. And I think that was to legalistically get around the punishment for what they were doing. But I don't think they pulled the wood over God's eyes, and I'm sure they'll get exactly what's theirs if they haven't already, you know. And I think, the cryptids did exist then. And I think when the flood came, a lot of them died, but a lot of them didn't. And a lot of them survived the flood because they were now not humans anymore. They were animals, monsters in a sense, and they weren't on the surface of the earth. Now only everything on the surface of the earth was killed. So the bird people flew up into the sky and receded on top of the waters and floated on top of the water as birds can do because their bones are hollow until it was all over. And I think a lot of them went underground, went subterranean. I think the reptilian people went subterranean and became hibernators, you know. And I think the reptilian people, being cold-blooded, could survive underground quite easily. And I think people who may have hybridized themselves with certain mammals could hibernate for long periods of time underground and wait out the flood, you know, and not die. And I think a lot of people who genetically engineered themselves survived the flood due to their new genetic nature, but they weren't human anymore. They become something else, and then they would breed and spread and become other things. And I think post-flood we saw examples of brush-ins with these creatures, like the lion men of Moab, for example, or the cynocephaly, which were the dog-headed men. And obviously we have reports of things like the blemmies, you know, these chest-headed people where the face is in the chest and they've got no head. There's lots of examples of odd shaped creatures and men all throughout human history in the modern age. People were fighting chimera animals and hybrid dragons in England through the medieval period. If you look at some of the artwork, you know, if you look at the artwork, probably believed they were telling you the truth about what these people were contending with and what they were seeing. And I think they've been a menace since that pre-flood genetic manipulation that went on. And I do think all evidence for them, to the latter part of your husband's question, was not necessarily destroyed by the flood, but is just buried. And a lot of it that is uncovered is destroyed by the Smithsonian. There's a huge cover-up to rewrite history and to destroy any evidence of such things. If you read like the Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus, a first century Roman Jewish historian, he's talking about how a tribe defeated these giants, and you can see the bones of the giants on display even to this day in his time in the first century. And he's like, the shape of these things, unlike any man. It's completely insane to behold. They just look like something else, something completely just beyond comprehension, you know. And they're on display. Now, we don't have those types of bones on display today because they're all destroyed because they don't fit the evolutionary narrative. And I think this in the late 19th century, early 20th century, in fact, all through the 19th century, to be honest, and all through the 1800s, the 1900s, and the 20th century, I think a lot of this stuff was buried and hidden and removed. And while it was being dug up, just as quickly as it was dug up, it was taken away. As soon as the local newspaper did a tale on it, the government turned up and took those things away and destroyed them or archived them for study or safekeeping, but never to be seen again. And there's lots of examples of that. Some people have done some great work on this, and I talk about it in the first book, where they are talking about all the giant skeletons that have been found all over America, for example. And they know they found them because there's loads of newspaper articles for each individual place where a very reputable archaeologist is talking about what they've found. So these aren't quacks or crazy people who aren't known, or just someone in the backyard has found something. These are like archaeologists, well known and respected in their fields, digging up giants' bones and talking to the newspapers about what they've found. And all we have are the articles, but we don't have any evidence of the things they uncovered, because the Smithsonian always turned up and took away the stuff. And obviously these archaeologists trust the system and let it happen without any question and assume the best, you know. But there was a eugenics takeover of that institution in like the early 1900s, which demanded that all this talk of giants stop. And that's what they did. They made it stop. All evidence that any such thing ever existed, probably including monsters and cryptids, is gone. And I think a lot of what we call dinosaur skeletons today are some of these hybridized creatures, some of the animals that were turned into monsters basically through this process. But also I think a lot of dinosaur bones are bullshit as well. I think a lot of what they presented in the early days especially were just made up. And they found these bones of giants and said this belongs to a giant lizard when it really belonged to a giant man, you know. And a lot of it's reconstructed from assumption, you know. But if you look into what these things really did look like, they might not have been giant lizards. They might have been giant bird reptile creatures. And then when you get into it, dragons. Realistically, you're just dealing with dragons here, and they look just. And there's always this funny meme I found where it shows like a rendition of the evolution of what they think dinosaurs looked like. Okay, and at the end they've come to this feathered chicken dragon monster. Okay, and they have the way they've drawn it with its wings up. And then it shows how the medieval people drew dragons, and it's identical. It's like the medieval people knew exactly what these things looked like because they were still killing them and fighting them and subduing them and keeping them as pets and all sorts of things. You know? And modern science finally caught up eventually. It just makes me laugh. But I hope that answers the question. That's my workaround to what you just said. That's what I understand and kind of how I lay it out. If there is evidence, it's gone. But what we do have is residual evidence through the newspaper articles that talk about what they found. So there we go. I saw a theory today, says MK Ryan, that they won't try to pull the alien thing after Disclosure Day flopped, and they might fake a sentient AI that gets out of control instead. Oh, absolutely. That sounds exactly like what they'll do. I think they complete and totally screwed the pooch when it comes to the alien stuff. They miss their window. Their window for the alien invasion was 2010 to 2015. If they did it then, they probably would have got away with it. But now everyone's like, that's absolute bullshit. No, we know you're going to fake it. Don't even bother. So, like I've said, I think they have a filing cabinet and an A to Z of plans they could initiate. And under F, faking alien invasion, they're going to have to scrap that one. And they're going to go back to AI, and AI gains sentience. Let's run this script and see how this plays out. You know, they've got so many they could just play at any moment. And we need to be aware of all the possibilities. And I believe that could be the case. They're switching from alien to AI now because technology has changed. Things have changed. And this is just where we are now, you know. I can see that. Shouldn't have gone public with really high quality AI video generation before disclosure day. Wonder if this was already a revised plan or something they had to scramble for. Yeah, they messed it up. They timed everything terribly. They've missed their window for aliens and for people caring and going along with what they want as a result. They've missed it. I think they have. I think it's too late. Good riddance. Timothy Alberino is a good documentary about those giant bones in Sardinia. There's so many documentaries and books written about the missing bones. Yeah, it's been covered up. It's just been hidden. That's all. They're not like us in a way, but Enki is on our side. Met him in person in 1968 and later in 2015 on Midsummer's Day. No, I'm not religious or delusional, but wish it never happened. Mariek Man 13, you did not meet Enki, and I know you're saying you're not delusional. I believe you believe what you're saying. Enki is not your friend, and he's not the good guy. None of them are. None of the pantheons of gods are, whether you go all the way back to the Mesopotamian gods, or if you want to go even further back to the Sumerians, or if you want to go to any pantheon, the Hindu pantheons, the Norse pantheons, the Greek pantheons, the North American feathered serpents, the rainbow serpents of Australia, or the Wanjinis of Australia, or the dragons of China, or whatever you want to call them, all these gods and goddesses that are part of pantheons, none of them are good. Not one. All of them are complicit in a conspiracy to hide God from the people. That's all they're doing. Okay. And if you were visited by Enki and he talked to you and told you he's the good guy, he's now telling you all sorts of nonsense, you are being visited by a demon who's pretending to be an angel of light. Stop. That's my warning to you. Talk to Jesus. He's all you need. Okay. He'll provide all the information you need, the comfort, the truth you need. You do not need to talk to these fallen, false idols that have proven themselves to be frauds. Don't do it. I was so sure they were going to pull that lever mid-2012. So was I. They should have. That would have been their chance. But they bottled it, didn't they? Like the pathetic losers they are. I get what you say. It destroyed my life, but also showed me the magic. Yep, you're right. Look, I don't know you, Maria Ekman, but you know, I love you, and I don't want you to be deceived. Okay, so just honestly, don't trust them. Don't trust them. I think when Christ came and finished his work on the cross and said, "It is finished," that means no more angels coming to people for divine revelation anymore. It is finished through the revelation of Jesus Christ, the final chapter, the final book, okay, and his finished work on the cross and his resurrection and his redemption of all of humanity through him, okay, and through his free gift of salvation. There's no more special people being visited by angels of light given new revelation that they must spread to the world or anything like that. Done. So if an angel does come talking to you and telling you stuff, it's probably bad. I know that might sound myopic to some people, but I'm telling you, the work we've done, the research I have, and that many people before me have done, all points to the same idea. They are all deceivers. If it's talking to you, it's probably lying. It's like a politician, okay? All of God's angels watch over and protect, but they do not communicate with you and tell you stuff. The ones that are doing that are in rebellion against God's order. It ended with Jesus. No more new revelation. No more visiting people. None of that stuff anymore. I think it all ended with him. It was the final work. Okay? And now all you have to do is spread the good news, the gospel of Jesus, have a relationship with him, be filled with the Holy Spirit, and be ready for that final great white throne judgment after you die. I say at the end of time, but it's when we die, each and every one of us individually. That's what it means, really. So that's what we have to do now. Too late, still show me that asteroid. There's no such thing as asteroids. It's an enclosed system. You're being lied to. It's lying to you to give you fear, so you'll go spreading that stuff everywhere thinking it's true. It's lying to you because it understands you're in a position of ignorance and it knows you'll likely believe something like that. Okay? But even if you've become as wise as a serpent and done your research, you'll know by now there's no such thing as asteroids from space. None of it's true. Okay, there aren't other planets. It's all an illusion. It's an enclosed system. And the wandering stars we call planets are angels who left their estate to wander the earth and deceive humanity into worshipping them. And they did. All the pantheons of Roman gods are planets. You know, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, all the rest of it, Saturn. These are Roman gods. Okay? Because people started to worship the planets as they moved the stars. Because the angels that started moving knew humanity would do that to deflect away from God, to create new religions, to create pantheons, which are like a barrier, a firewall for people seeing through them to God himself. So God sent his son to smash through that bullshit and say all these gods are false. Every single one of them. They cannot save you. They do not bring you salvation. Only my Father in heaven can do that, and he has sent me, his only begotten. I am him, and also separate from him, but him at the same time. It's a very trippy thing. I'm not going to get into the Trinity and how that works right now and what begotten means. You know, all I know is we are created in his image, but Jesus was begotten. That's different. That's not the same. Okay? He is of God. He is of God's nature. He is God in that respect, okay? That's how we must see it. And he was sent, and he showed us the way. He showed that all these other gods are liars. Every single one of them. And that is what happened. People, you know, the oracles stopped working. Everything stopped. The statues stopped speaking. The gods broke. The system collapsed. Their authority, or lack of authority, was laid bare through Christ. And that's it. It was over. Jesus ended the age of magic as we understood it then, you know what I mean? And basically brought the truth to people, and it set them free. And we can't fall back into that. No way. Any thoughts on sorcerers, witches? I've been seeing evidence something paranormal surrounding one person, but it was in a way that would be hard to distinguish from demonic possession outside allies. Well, look, sorcerers and witches are people who make contracts and deals with spirits for power, influence, and fame, and to be able to attack people, their enemies, or gain influence and control over others. The secret is they're not supposed to let people know that they're working with demons to do that. Okay, so it looks like they're doing it off their own back or their own volition or their own talent or skill. But it's a contract, so they have to keep up their end of the bargain, and there's things they have to do to appease the spirit, the demon within them, and that often includes sacrifice and sordid acts and actions and doing things. In order to be rewarded with the magic, you know what I mean? Which is just the demon doing stuff for you, basically. But to get that, you know, the demon has to be able to possess your body. And while it's in your body, you do stuff which it can feel and taste and enjoy, and it's kind of a transactional deal, and that's all witches and sorcerers truly are. There's no real love light about it, or whatever they're trying to say. There's no good witches. There's no light witch versus the dark witch. You can't use good magic to fight bad magic or whatever bullshit they want to tell you today. It's all demonic. All magic derives from deals and contracts with demons. That's the point. So ignore it. Now, there's also basic magic as well. That's like demonic spiritual magic. It's all demonic. But there's also another type of magic, which is stage magic, which is misdirection and manipulation, influencing people without having ever touching them. And, you know, you get hypnotists and mesmerists, and you get people who are capable of just talking and convincing people of things very convincingly. Actors being highly persuasive. In many ways, that comes under the same category as magic. There's also practical magic beyond that, which is art, and using signs and symbols and sigils and music and sound and moving imagery to make people believe and think things that aren't true. So you're manipulating and controlling people through sound and imagery. You're using art to manipulate people. That's also witchcraft and sorcery. It's the same thing. And demons and demonology and sacrifice is heavily weaved throughout people's abilities to do these things. Often, not always. Creativity is a natural human trait. God is a creator after all, and we're made in his image. And you can be used to glorify God in every way, but it often gets perverted and used by the enemy because it's so powerful of a tool to control people's minds if used and abused incorrectly, and it certainly has been. So that's what I think of that. Police escorted him to the Pentagon where he met Eisenhower. I must have missed that. Unted tongue out. Sorry about that. Valiant Thor, purported extraterrestrial from Venus, is said to have met President Eisenhower in 1957 to offer advanced technology in exchange for disarmament. On March 16th, 1957, a spacecraft called the Victor 1 landed in Alexandria, Virginia. The pilot, Valiant Thor, reportedly telepathically requested to meet Dwight D. Eisenhower. I don't know about any of that. I think there's a lot of false stories out there to convince people of the alien narrative, to be honest. I wouldn't believe any of it, as far as I can throw it, to be honest. I think Freemasons, the Oddfellows, Shriners, they're in the industry of creating a theatre, a show for us to believe we're a part of, an illusory reality, and stories like that sound like a part of that. Sounds like their script to me. C.S. Lewis seems to be of the same opinion, that it was maybe once safe to fiddle with the astral plane and magic, but that since 6,000 years ago, things have changed in the astral. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think it used to be all one thing and there was no barrier between it. It was just existence. Like, seeing all the psychedelic, trippy astral plane was just normal. That was being alive. You have that capacity to perceive all of it, the creation and the spirit world simultaneously as one happening. You know what I mean? And I think that's how God created us to be. But then after the flood, with all these creatures everywhere and the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim knocking about, influencing people, it's best, I think God thought it best to limit humanity's perception down to the minimum, to remove the astral plane capability, simply so these demons couldn't influence us so heavily anymore and get in touch with us and communicate with us and be seen by us and influence us anymore. It was basically just to create a barrier strong enough to diminish significantly their ability to manipulate us. And I do think if C.S. Lewis thought that, I can see why. I've come to the same conclusion. It makes perfect sense as what a just, loving, caring God would do to protect his children, to be honest. Monogenes, the only begotten son. Yeah, absolutely. As long as we stay with love in our hearts, love will only get you so far. Love won't save you. It's a good way of living. It's good practical advice. But only Jesus will save you. Being loving and kind is not enough because you are a sinner, just like everybody else. Your works are filthy rags. We all fall short of the law, and we cannot be redeemed through our own works. So you simply have to trust in Jesus, repent, accept his work and sacrifice, walk as Jesus did, pick up your cross and sincerely prove and show that you actually genuinely do actually believe in Jesus, you know. Like, you can't just say you do, and you have to be transformed by the Holy Spirit and born again, you know, and be baptized in the waters and filled with the Holy Spirit. You have to do it all. It's a process, you know, and it's kind of the sincerity of it, the truthfulness of when you say, I believe in Jesus Christ and he has saved me and redeemed me through his blood. God knows if you are lying. You know what I mean? And if you sincerely go through that and have that revelation and it's revealed to you and you are filled with the Holy Spirit, then you are saved. But, you know, just saying things like be in love and light and the rest of it, well, that's easier said than done, first of all, because this world will make you evil and dark and hate people very easily. You know, Christ says, yes, you know, the world has fallen and there's bad people here and evil people. And love's easy when it's your loved ones, friends, and family. Even the pagans can do that. But what about your enemies? Do you love them too? You can only love your enemies if you see the bigger picture, you know. And that's what Christ is trying to get us to, realistically. Christ came to save everybody, including the ones you hate. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And I think people need to realize that love alone is not going to save you. I think a sincerity will. And sometimes love isn't always about kindness as well. Love can be cruel. From the sinner's point of view, it's cruel. But really what it is necessary to help people. Sometimes you have to take away what people want in order to make them free, you know, and you'll be the enemy for a long time and considered a bad person for doing what you do. But what you're really doing is saving them, protecting them, and stopping them from going further into the pits of hell, you know. So it's not an easy walk. It's not. God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom he made the worlds. Yes. So you're trying to say he made other worlds? Well, define world by biblical standards. I don't think that necessarily means earth. God created the heavens and the earth. But in terms of worlds, I feel like that's more a case of the heavens, the levels, the versions of this earth and the planes above. And look, many other cultures talk of there being multiple layers to creation. You can call them dimensions, but there is the earth and there's other planes that are layered within it, you know, which are levels basically where certain creatures reside, be it angels or man or spirits, you know. The three realms from a Chinese perspective, for example, but then you've also got the world tree type of understanding from like a Norse perspective of the above and below realms, and you've got Asgard, Midgard, and all these other gods in between. And I think there may be something to that, and I think that's more likely what Christ was relating to. It's like, look, these pagans have these concepts of the many worlds, the many realms. Jesus is made all of them, I think is what he's trying to say. I don't think he's saying there are other planets out there that we can go and inhabit. I don't think that's what you can't layer that modern interpretation onto it like that. I just don't think so. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen are not made of things which do appear. Yeah. That's what Enki taught me, to understand my enemies and forgive them. I would never have conquered my hate if not got his wisdom. It's not his wisdom. He plagiarized that from Jesus, who was the beginning. There in the beginning, who was the Word, who was with. He is the. In the beginning was the Word, and that Word was God, and he was with God. Okay, so the Word is Jesus. I feel like Enki's just plagiarized his word and is taking credit for in your life. Enki will not save you. There's nothing Enki can teach you or say to you or do for you that will save your soul. that will give you your name in the book of life, that gets you through the judgment. So don't listen to him. Don't. Honestly, you're wasting your time, and he knows it. I think this is referring to Outer Lands, says a little seasoned and spicy. It could be that too. It could be that. It could be the other worlds of the greater disc that where our ice ring is moving around. You know, I do understand that concept. I think these things I put down to mystery. I think there can be mystery, and that's okay. We can talk about what we think it might be, like I do, you know, and I might speak with confidence about a lot of things, but there's a lot of things I don't know, but I talk about them, and it's like my best guess so far is something like this, and it can be fun. But we have to remember, ultimately, there's so much we do not know, and that is actually okay. We don't have to know everything. We are not God. There's limitations to our capacity to comprehend God's creation in all its glory. And that's how it should be. That's okay. It's not valuable for us to understand specifically and exactly how God makes creation and all the rest of it and what it looks like and how it functions, its shapes. We were created to live in it and have a life within it. Go and do that, you know. You'll be a lot happier. A lot happier. Have you ever read C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy? Yeah, I've read all three. That Terrible Strength, the last one, is a bit of a turn from the usual. Obviously, I like the first one. I can't remember what it's called now, where he's basically just hopping around on the planets, you know, and meeting these creatures. Exactly, but C.S. Lewis is working within a framework that was modernity, and that was the prominent thought then. I don't think he would have gone into these other ideas that we talk about here today. I'm not saying C.S. Lewis wasn't an intelligent man, but he was basically writing sci-fi. You know, that's what he was doing. He was writing science fiction for the age, which was growing in popularity then. So I can see why he would do that. He was trying to breach Christian ideas and principles to a new audience who were seeking those answers from that atheistic, scientific, interplanetary space perspective, you know. But obviously his view on how planets functioned is way off to how they actually function, you know. Some of them are like just waves and jelly and water and tall, thin people walking around, and these Adam and Eve like creatures on another planet that he interacts with, and God is like a nebulous force and all this other stuff within space. It was just, you know, it was fun for what it is. I think the final one, that Terrible Strength, which kind of brings it back to earth, is really interesting because it's talking about a man and his desire to want to become a part of a secret society, you know. He's always wanting to be in the inner circle of a eventually he does work his way up to a group called NICE, and I can't remember what NICE stands for, but it's something like national something or other scientific something. I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna have to find out. Hang on, I'm gonna have to tell you, because this is just how it operates, isn't it? That. Sorry, the book is That Hideous Strength, not That Terrible Strength. Sorry, I'm mixing up books there. It's because I'm watching clown horrors. Sorry. So NICE stands for the National Institute for Coordinated Experiments. Okay, operating under the guise of scientific progress and societal uplift, is actually a front for sinister supernatural forces aiming to conquer humanity and abolish organic life. And it's talking about the hubris of the scientific community in the final book, and it's really interesting because this guy who like has a wife or a girlfriend, I can't remember now, and she's going down the Christian route. She discovers like the anti-NICE underground network of like revolutionaries who were trying to fight it back against the evil people, who are these secret societies who were basically using science to create abominations and to manipulate humanity and lie to the people, you know. And his wife goes down the Christian route, but he goes down the atheistic scientific route, seeking the approval of men to become members of these secret societies. And she's on a journey to find God, you know. And she comes across the character from the first two books who basically did encounter God. He came so close to God that he's forever changed. And he's now like this glowing demigod himself of some weird kind. And there's like a bear that walks around that doesn't kill anybody and is like friendly because of, you know, his aura and the rest of it. And these band of hippie weird people like gather around him, and he's kind of leading this revolution against the nice institute. And it's a really interesting book. I won't spoil it for you if you want to read it, but it basically shows like the hubris and horrors of the scientific community, what they're doing behind the scenes, and what they think they can get away with, and how really fundamentally God is in control and the plans are fruitless at the end of it all. It's a really good book, and yeah, the space trilogy is really interesting, but it's not really space. He's been heavily liberal with what you would think of as a planet. You know what I mean? He's like vastly changed in the story how space operates for his narrative. Like, it does not fit Newtonian physics. Like, he's made it more like a heaven. It behaves spiritually. It behaves in an odd way. Like, it's like, imagine if we were to go to space. This was pre, NASA's space launch and going to the moon and all that nonsense, It's kind of, this was before all of that when this was written. So really, he was more like trying to like conceptualize something he can only conceptualize through theory, an idea. And his version of space was more like, if the higher up we go, the more like a spiritual realm it becomes. And he kind of shows that through his works. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Like, it's a good series. I read it years ago, and I'm struggling to recall it all now. But I do remember being enthralled. The Great Divorce is good as well, if you want to like understand the difference between heaven and hell, what it's really like to be separate from God, and it's again, it's a story, it's fiction, it's not, and it's highly stylized metaphor. It's not literally a depiction of hell or heaven or anything like that, but the way he lays it out is really good. The Screw Tape letters are good to like how the devil operates, it's a really funny one as well. He's made it very humorous. So C.S. Lewis is a good author. I don't think he knew everything. I don't think he was right about everything, but he was very good at communicating Christian principles to people who otherwise didn't understand how to understand it, and he was a good communicator. Absolutely. Thank you for indulging my interest in these books. I wish they were more well known. It's a very intense dystopia, more real than 1984 or Brave New World. Yeah, it's the one interesting part about that Hideous Strength is I call him a protagonist, but he's a bad guy. He just doesn't realize how bad he is until he's too far in, and he's like, I can't get out now. They'll kill me. He kind of realizes that. But what he basically does to ingratiate himself, like get into the good graces of these secret societies, is he edits the media for them, and he changes news stories to fit their narrative, and he's kind of like a censor of a sort. He's an editor, and he writes the things for them to the public front. He keeps up the propaganda for them, and he kind of does it passively, not really knowing the consequences. He's not thinking that far ahead. All he's thinking is in terms of, I want to be in this club and I'll do anything to do that. So he's not stopping to morally question his actions in what he's actually doing at any moment. He's fueled on pride and greed and passions of fame and glory. You know what I mean? He has all the wrong attitudes to life, and his ignorance or lack of care about consequences for his actions are subsequently what seals his fate, and his wife is going off a different tangent. She's confronting her demons. She's confronting who she is as a person. She's going through the hero's journey to kind of discover why that's true and why that's the side we should choose ultimately, and that contrast between the two parallel stories is really good. It's really good. It's interesting. You should definitely read it if you haven't. Or do an audiobook. It's probably available on YouTube. What are your thoughts on Paradise Lost as our tuition? Maybe that's the time for another video, because I've gone over the 2-hour mark, and I'm not going to start a 20-minute spiel on Paradise Lost now. To be honest, I'd have to reread it again to get a grip. So it's been a long time since I've read Paradise Lost. I know a lot of our iconography of what heaven and hell is comes from Paradise Lost, but again, it's highly stylized. I'll say that, but it's interesting. So anyway, we'll maybe another time. Thanks for the questions, guys. I hope you've enjoyed my random rants and rambles. I hope you enjoyed the reading of the final book there, a bit of a sneak peek. Again, not final work, something that's coming down the pipelines. Hopefully the second book will be published in September, so keep your eyes out for that. There'll be news coming thick and heavy in like the next few months as I get closer and closer to publishing, so you guys will be kept in the loop throughout the whole process. It's gonna be an interesting few months, I can say that much. It's all kind of culminating together. Again, as I did mention at the start of this, if you're catching me at the end here, if you would like to help support me and my family's endeavor to get a house that's big enough for our family, please consider donating to PayPal. The link is down below. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, just watch the start of this show and I kind of explain what we're going through here at home, and I need help basically, and I'm doing everything I can to earn the money I need to earn to get this done. And I'm basically making a plea as a father and a husband, doing what he can with what he's got, to basically say, if anyone can help me, I'm happy to accept any help. So that's just out there. Link down below. So yeah, there we go, guys. If other than that, if you don't want to donate to PayPal, whatever it is, please consider becoming a patron. It's a good way to support me every month and to help me maintain what I do. Lots of extra content on there you won't find on YouTube, and more to come on a regular basis. Make sure to subscribe to the second channel. It did just get monetized. It won't make much money because it doesn't get that many views, but it'll be like an extra passive income. So go subscribe if you haven't already. Another great way to support me. Again, link down below for the backup channel. So I'll leave that there, guys. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.